Recently, YouTube has been demonetizing a lot of channels, and naturally, it's making a lot of creators panic, including me. Because this is also a faceless channel, there's a real human behind Not That Techy, someone who's naturally more introverted, doesn't really enjoy being on camera, but still genuinely loves sharing tech knowledge and ideas online. I also use AI tools in my workflow, including AI-generated voiceovers. And I know there are probably a lot of creators out there doing the exact same thing too. So when headlines suddenly start saying things like, YouTube is killing AI channels, or faceless channels are dead, it's pretty normal for creators like me to get nervous too. But at the same time, the idea of YouTube suddenly becoming fully anti-AI never completely made sense to me either, because YouTube is owned by Google, and Google is literally one of the biggest AI companies on the planet right now. They're investing billions into AI. A lot of YouTube's own creator tools already use AI in some way, and some of those tools are literally built by Google themselves too. So instead of just panicking or blindly believing random posts online, I ended up spending a ridiculous amount of time researching this whole situation, reading forums, watching creator breakdowns, looking through demonetized channels, reading policy discussions, watching case studies. And after seeing enough examples, certain patterns started appearing over and over again. Most of these demonetization cases honestly don't feel completely random. A lot of the discussions, examples, and creator experiences seem to connect back to a few much bigger patterns happening across YouTube right now. So in this video, I'll break down 17 common reasons creators believe channels are getting demonetized right now. And from everything I gathered, most of those reasons seem to fall into 4 bigger YouTube problems the platform is probably trying to reduce or solve. Then after that, we'll also talk about what still seems relatively safe, what probably matters most moving forward, and where I personally think YouTube is heading with all of this. Okay, before we begin, here are 2 disclaimers. First, these 17 reasons are mostly based on patterns, creator discussions, case studies, and things people in the community have been noticing lately. YouTube usually doesn't publicly explain every demonetization decision in detail. So this video is basically me summarizing what a lot of creators are currently saying and observing right now. And personally, some of these reasons make a lot of sense to me. Some of them, I'm still not completely convinced by. And when we get to those parts in the video, I'll point them out and share my own thoughts on them too. So don't take this video as, these are officially confirmed YouTube rules. Think of it more as the biggest patterns and theories creators keep seeing over and over again right now. Second, throughout this video, I may show a few real channel examples while explaining some of these patterns, but this video is not meant to attack, embarrass, or call out any creators. This is purely for educational and discussion purposes. If anything, I actually have a lot of respect for people experimenting, learning, and trying to build things online. Because honestly, creating content consistently is already hard enough. The goal of this video is simply to help people better understand what might be happening on YouTube right now. So hopefully creators can avoid making mistakes that could hurt their channels later on. Hey, this is Not That Techy, figuring out tech so you don't have to. So with all of that out of the way, let's break down the 4 bigger YouTube problems behind these 17 common demonetization reasons creators keep talking about right now. Problem 1. Content that feels mass-produced instead of human-made. I think this is probably the biggest overall pattern behind most of these demonetizations. The platform doesn't really seem anti-AI. It seems increasingly anti. Content farms, automation at scale, and content that stops feeling human. And this bigger YouTube problem seems closely connected to the following demonetization reasons creators keep talking about right now. Mass-produced or interchangeable content, fully automated AI pipelines, oversaturated or high-risk niches, generic AI voices, upload flooding, slideshow-style editing, lack of human creative decisions. And now, let's go a little deeper into the specific demonetization reasons that seem connected to this first bigger YouTube problem. Reason 1. Mass-produced or interchangeable content. This is when a channel's uploads all start feeling identical. Same thumbnails, same pacing, same storytelling structure, same emotional beats, and honestly, A lot of this content starts feeling like it only exists to fill up space and collect ad revenue, rather than genuinely trying to help, entertain, educate, or connect with an audience. The channel starts feeling replaceable instead of creator-driven. This is mostly about the output feeling repetitive, not necessarily how the content was created behind the scenes. Reason 2. Fully automated AI pipelines. This is when almost the entire creation process becomes automated. AI writes the scripts, generates the voiceovers, creates the visuals, edits the videos, even uploads the content. When large amounts of content are produced through highly automated workflows, the final channel can start feeling repetitive, factory-produced, or lacking human involvement, especially at scale. This one is more about how the content is produced behind the scenes. Personally, I don't think the problem is simply AI pipelines exist. I think the bigger issue is when the final output starts looking obviously automated, repetitive, or machine-generated to viewers and reviewers. Reason 3. Oversaturated or high-risk niches. Some niches are simply becoming much riskier because they're extremely easy to mass-produce. Things like Reddit stories, ranking videos, AI shorts, clip channels, or generic slideshow-style videos. When thousands of channels can make almost identical content very quickly, YouTube may start treating the entire niche as higher risk or spam-heavy. This is more about niches that are extremely easy to mass-produce at scale, which naturally attracts a huge amount of repetitive or low-quality content, so the niche itself may become higher risk overall. But that doesn't automatically mean every creator in that niche is bad. High-quality creators can still absolutely exist in those spaces. Reason 4. Generic AI voices. A huge number of creators are now using the exact same AI voices, the same pacing, and the same delivery styles. And when thousands of channels in the same niche all sound similar, everything starts blending together. Combined with repetitive visuals and repetitive formats, the channel can start feeling synthetic or mass-produced. This issue is specifically about audio identity and branding. Personally, this is actually one of the points I'm still not fully convinced by, because tools like 11 Labs already offer tons of different voices anyway, and realistically, using AI voiceovers to improve clarity or accessibility still seems completely reasonable to me, especially for faceless creators, introverted creators, or educational channels. So I don't think AI voice equals automatically bad. I think it only becomes risky when everything starts feeling repetitive at the same time. Reason 5. Upload flooding. This is when creators upload huge amounts of content constantly, multiple shorts daily, multiple videos every day, or endless variations of very similar content. Massive upload volume combined with repetitive content can start creating spam signals, especially when retention drops, originality disappears, or everything starts feeling automated. This reason is more about scale and volume, not necessarily automation itself. Personally, I don't think uploading a lot automatically means a channel is bad. Big creator teams and media companies upload constantly too, so I think upload flooding only becomes risky when it combines with repetitive content, low-value content, or fully automated workflows. Reason 6. Slideshow-style editing. This is the type of content that can easily end up relying mainly on AI-generated images, stock footage, slow zoom-ins, ambient music, and AI narration, usually with very repetitive editing patterns across the channel. When dozens of uploads all follow the exact same visual formula, the channel can start feeling mass-produced very quickly, especially when the visuals feel repetitive, low effort, or interchangeable. This one is specifically about visual presentation and editing style, not necessarily scripting or upload frequency. Personally, I think this is another case where the actual content still matters a lot, because even slideshow-style videos can still perform well if the storytelling is strong, the research is original, the information is valuable, or the creator adds real perspective to the topic. So I don't think slideshow editing itself is automatically bad. I think it mostly becomes risky when the visuals and the content both start feeling repetitive at the same time. Reason 7. Lack of human creative decisions. This probably acts as the bigger umbrella behind almost everything we just talked about. The more content starts feeling like it was generated by a system instead of shaped by a person, the riskier it seems to become. YouTube reviewers may start struggling to see human creativity, human judgment, personal perspective, or recognizable creator identity. This isn't about one specific tactic. It's more like the overall feeling of the channel. Does it still feel like a human creator is behind it, or does it mostly feel machine-generated? Next, let's examine the next major pattern. YouTube seems increasingly focused on problem 2, content that feels recycled instead of original. A lot of demonetized content doesn't necessarily look terrible, but it also doesn't really add anything new. And this bigger YouTube problem seems closely connected to the following demonetization reasons creators keep talking about right now. Script recycling or reused content, no real value content, reaction spam, and low transformation content, low information gain. And now, let's go a little deeper into the specific demonetization reasons that seem connected to this second bigger YouTube problem. Reason 8, script recycling or reused content. This is when creators heavily reuse existing videos, viral formats, Reddit posts, internet stories, or already popular ideas, without adding much original transformation. Sometimes the wording changes slightly, but the structure, ideas, and storytelling stay almost identical. The content can start feeling recycled instead of original, especially when many channels are repeating the same formats over and over again. This is more about originality and transformation, not necessarily copyright infringement itself. Reason 9, no real value content. This is content that technically exists, but viewers may not actually gain much meaningful value from it afterward. Sometimes the videos look polished, cinematic, or highly edited, but don't really teach, inform, entertain deeply, or provide strong audience value. The content can start feeling like it mainly exists to fill feeds, farm views, or collect ad revenue, instead of genuinely helping or engaging viewers. This is less about production quality, and more about whether viewers actually gain something meaningful from watching. Personally, I think this is one of the harshest realities about YouTube right now, because YouTube doesn't really reward effort. It rewards outcomes, meaning viewer satisfaction, retention, originality, audience value, watch behavior, advertiser safety. So even if a creator spends 20 hours making something, YouTube may still not see it as valuable if viewers don't really get much out of it afterward. Reason 10, reaction spam and low transformation content. This is when creators mainly rely on reacting to viral clips, TikToks, memes, podcasts, or other creators' content, without adding much meaningful commentary or transformation. The videos can also start feeling more like reposted engagement farming rather than original creator content. This is specifically about low transformation, not reaction content itself. High-quality reaction creators who add analysis, humor, commentary, storytelling, or expertise can still absolutely provide real value. Reason 11, low information gain. This is when content keeps repeating information viewers have already seen many times before. Same tips, same ideas, same advice, same conclusions, just repackaged slightly differently. If viewers feel like they've already seen the exact same information everywhere else, the content may start feeling low value or unnecessary. This is specifically about information originality, whether the content adds new insights, new perspectives, new research, new experiences, or unique observations. Because even a well-edited video can still feel low information if it's mostly repeating things viewers already know. Unlike Reason 8, this is less about copying formats, storytelling structures, or execution styles. And unlike Reason 9, this isn't mainly about overall audience value or entertainment. This reason is specifically about information depth and uniqueness. In other words, does the content actually provide new insights or perspectives, or is it mostly repeating information that already exists everywhere? I think this concept is becoming much more important in the AI era because AI can already generate infinite amounts of average information, generic summaries, and repetitive content. So I think originality, real experiences, personal insights, and genuine perspective are becoming more valuable than ever now. Next, let's examine another major pattern. YouTube seems increasingly focused on authenticity, trust, and real-world impact. Problem 3. Fake authenticity and platform trust. One pattern that kept showing up over and over again was platform trust and authenticity, even for faceless or AI-assisted creators. The issue doesn't really seem to be AI exists. The issue starts when identity, authority, or authenticity begin feeling fake, misleading, or manipulative. I think this category is becoming far more important than most creators realize, because once content starts influencing beliefs, financial decisions, health decisions, or emotional trust, the platform risk becomes much bigger, especially for advertisers. And this bigger YouTube problem seems closely connected to the following demonetization reasons creators keep talking about right now: fake AI personas or fake authenticity, copyright or character problems. And now, let's go a little deeper into the specific demonetization reasons that seem connected to this third bigger YouTube problem. Reason 12. Fake AI personas or fake authenticity. This is when creators use AI-generated personas, avatars, or identities in ways that can feel misleading or deceptive, especially fake. Experts, financial gurus, coaches, historical figures, or AI personalities pretending to represent real people. Once viewers start believing an AI-generated identity is a real trustworthy person, the content can begin affecting financial decisions, health decisions, emotional trust, or audience behavior in the real world. And that creates much bigger platform and advertiser risks. The issue usually isn't using an AI avatar. The issue starts when AI is used to blur the line between real identity, fiction, authority, and impersonation. Personally, I think this is where a lot of people misunderstand YouTube's concerns, because I don't think advertisers are scared of AI itself. I think advertisers are scared of being associated with misleading advice, fake authority, potential scams, or unverifiable claims, especially in niches involving money, wealth, health, or self-improvement. At the end of the day, brands don't want their ads appearing next to content that could damage trust or create real-world consequences. Reason 13. Copyright or character problems. Another category people keep mentioning is channels heavily built around copyrighted characters, famous intellectual properties, anime characters, movie franchises, or AI-generated kid-focused content, especially endless AI-generated stories involving recognizable characters. A lot of this content creates copyright complications, advertiser limitations, or made-for-kids monetization issues. And apparently, YouTube also seems increasingly uncomfortable with graphic AI violence, disturbing AI storytelling, or fake historical content involving recognizable public figures. This problem usually becomes much riskier when copyrighted characters are combined with mass production, AI automation, or low transformation storytelling. Personally, this is actually one of the demonetization reasons that makes the most sense to me, because YouTube's business model is still heavily built around advertising, and a lot of these channels already use copyrighted IP, target younger audiences, or fall into limited advertiser-friendly categories, which means advertisers may already be less interested in running ads there in the first place. So from a business perspective, YouTube probably has much less incentive to heavily monetize content that creates copyright risks, creates advertiser concerns, and is already getting massively flooded with AI-generated versions anyway. So that's probably the third bigger YouTube problem behind a lot of these demonetizations: content that starts creating trust, authenticity, or advertiser concerns. Now let's move into the last major pattern that keeps getting mentioned a lot lately. This one seems less about the content itself and more about platform behavior and spam signals overall. Problem 4. Spam and platform abuse. One thing that seems to be happening more and more lately is YouTube becoming increasingly aggressive toward behavior that looks manipulative, spammy, or system-focused rather than audience-focused. And this is probably where a lot of creators accidentally trigger problems without fully realizing it. because sometimes it's not just the videos themselves being evaluated anymore. It's also channel behavior, upload behavior, network behavior, and overall trust signals. And this bigger YouTube problem seems closely connected to the following demonetization reasons creators keep talking about right now. Related channels risk, spam signals beyond the videos, circumvention, panic deleting content. And now let's go a little deeper into the specific demonetization reasons that seem connected to this fourth bigger YouTube problem. Reason 14, related channels risk. This is when multiple channels connected to the same creator, team, or network start showing very similar spam-like patterns. Sometimes same editing, same voices, same thumbnails, same formats, same upload behavior, or even the same monetization strategies. If one channel gets flagged, people believe connected channels may also become higher risk, especially when everything starts looking like part of the same content farm ecosystem. This doesn't necessarily mean running multiple channels is bad. A lot of legitimate businesses and creators run multiple channels. The issue seems to start when the entire network begins looking highly automated, mass-produced, or spam-oriented. Another thing that gets mentioned a lot is the idea that channels connected through the same IP address, devices, or creator network might sometimes affect each other too. Meaning, if one channel gets heavily flagged, some creators believe other channels connected to the same setup may also become higher risk. Even if those channels didn't directly violate anything themselves, there's very little public confirmation about how much YouTube actually tracks or links these signals internally. So if any of you have real experience with this, please leave a comment below and share your thoughts too, so everyone can learn from each other. Reason 15, spam signals beyond the videos. Another interesting thing people keep mentioning is that YouTube may also evaluate spam signals outside the videos themselves. Things like misleading thumbnails, spammy metadata, clickbait overload, repetitive titles, fake engagement, or suspicious channel behavior. Even if the videos themselves aren't terrible, the overall channel can still start looking manipulative or low trust. This problem is more about platform trust signals overall. Not just video quality alone. This is actually one of the demonetization reasons that makes a lot of sense from YouTube's perspective, because the platform probably isn't only evaluating, is this video good? They're also evaluating, does this creator behave like a trustworthy, long-term platform participant? Reason 16, circumvention. This is when creators try to work around YouTube systems after getting flagged, restricted, or demonetized. For example, re-uploading removed content, constantly recreating channels, reusing previously flagged material, or trying to bypass monetization restrictions. Once a creator starts looking like they're intentionally trying to evade platform systems, the trust risk becomes much bigger. This is less about one individual video, and more about platform behavior patterns over time. Reason 17, panic deleting content. A lot of creators reportedly started mass deleting videos after seeing demonetization waves happen, especially older AI videos, experimental uploads, or borderline content. Some people believe sudden mass deletion behavior itself may create unusual channel signals, especially if large portions of the channel disappear very quickly. There's actually no clear public evidence that deleting videos directly causes demonetization. A lot of this is still speculation from creators trying to reverse engineer YouTube behavior. Panic often makes creators do extreme things too quickly, and ironically, that sometimes creates even more unusual platform behavior signals afterward. So making calmer, more strategic decisions is probably much safer than suddenly deleting half a channel overnight. So overall, those are the 17 common demonetization reasons that creators keep talking about right now. And at first, a lot of them can sound very repetitive or overlapping. But once you actually start looking at real demonetized channels and real creator cases, things become much more complicated, because most channels usually don't get flagged for just one thing. A lot of the time, multiple patterns start stacking together. For example, mass-produced content combined with AI automation, or low-information content combined with spammy upload behavior, or fake authority combined with misleading financial advice. And sometimes, two channels can look very similar on the surface, but small differences can completely change how risky the channel feels overall, which is honestly why this whole topic becomes so confusing for creators in the first place. So before we move on to the next part, let's look at a few real cases to see how easy it is to misunderstand these situations if we only look at channels on the surface. Case study 1. Both use copyrighted characters, but one feels more original. Two interesting channels to compare here are Tiny Quiz and Eddie Farb. At the time of recording, Tiny Quiz had around 220,000 subscribers and nearly 1,000 videos, while Eddie Farb had around 286,000 subscribers and more than 500 videos. Now, technically, both channels heavily rely on copyrighted characters, but the way they use those characters feels very different. Tiny Quiz mainly creates repetitive children's quiz videos using characters from Disney, Nintendo, and other major franchises. Meanwhile, Eddie Farb creates original rap battles between fictional characters like Eric Cartman and Charlie Brown. So on the surface, both channels are still using copyrighted IP, but the overall content structure feels very different. Tiny Quiz seems much more connected to oversaturated or high-risk niches, script recycling or reused content, copyright or character problems. Because across hundreds of uploads, the content structure becomes extremely repetitive. Guess who this is? Guess what happens next? Guess who is singing over and over again? Meanwhile, Eddie Farb still uses copyrighted characters, but the actual content itself feels much more original and transformative. The rap battles are written, structured, and creatively built by the creator, so even though copyrighted characters are still involved, the overall channel feels much more creator-driven rather than mass-produced. And somehow, channels like this often seem to survive monetization longer. But this is also an important reminder. Just because YouTube currently allows something doesn't necessarily mean it's permanently safe forever, because YouTube itself cannot grant ownership over copyrighted characters. The actual IP owners can still claim revenue, block videos, or issue copyright strikes later if they decide they don't want their characters being used that way anymore. Still, in this case, Tiny Quiz reportedly got demonetized, while Eddie Farb appears to still be monetized normally. Case study 2. Both are faceless channels, but one feels much more trustworthy. Another interesting comparison is Rabbi David and Decoding YT. At the time of recording, Rabbi David had around 67,000 subscribers and more than 400 videos, while Decoding YT had around 1 million subscribers and around 58 videos. Now, technically, both channels are faceless. Both use animated avatars instead of showing a real face on camera. But the way authenticity is presented feels very different between the two. Rabbi David creates an entire fictional character persona. The channel presents a personality, a voice, a visual identity, and an authority figure that feels like a real person viewers are supposed to trust. And in the description, the channel also includes a very detailed editorial transparency section, explaining things like human written research manual fact-checking, educational intent, documentary style analysis, financial disclaimers. So on the surface, the channel tries very hard to appear credible, professional, and trustworthy. But this is where things become interesting, because at the same time, the main topic of the channel itself revolves around financial attraction, wealth building, and selling courses around creating faceless AI personas and audience influence. And that's where people started debating whether the line between education, marketing, and fake authenticity was becoming blurry. So channels like this often get connected to multiple demonetization reasons at once. Fake AI personas or fake authenticity, because the channel builds a fictional authority figure designed to create emotional trust and audience influence. Spam signals beyond the videos, because the overall platform trust signals can start looking risky when the content revolves around wealth attraction, financial success, AI influence systems, and highly sales-oriented funnels connected to courses or external offers. low information gain. Because a lot of this type of content can sometimes start feeling repetitive, surface level, or built around recycled self-improvement and wealth advice. Especially when the content starts positioning a fictional persona as a trusted authority figure in areas involving money, wealth, or personal success. Now compare that to Decoding YT. This channel also uses an animated avatar, a hoodie character, and a faceless presentation style, but the overall feeling of the channel is very different. The videos are clearly presented as personal YouTube growth analysis, creator experiences, and lessons learned directly from the creator's own journey. The creator doesn't necessarily reveal their real face, but viewers can still clearly feel there's a real human behind the channel. And importantly, the channel uses the creator's own real voice, personal experiences, and original breakdowns about YouTube strategy. So even though both channels are technically faceless, one feels much more like a fictional authority persona, while the other feels more like a real creator simply choosing not to show their face. And this is probably one of the clearest examples showing that YouTube's issue often isn't faceless content. It's when the authenticity itself starts feeling manufactured, manipulative, or designed to artificially create trust and emotional influence at scale. So in this case, Rabbi David reportedly got demonetized, while Decoding YT appears to still be monetized normally. Although, interestingly, Rabbi David still seems to be uploading videos consistently recently, which is interesting because normally, once channels get demonetized, a lot of creators slow down heavily or stop uploading altogether. So it's honestly hard to know from the outside whether some of the videos were pre-scheduled earlier or whether monetization was never the channel's main business model in the first place, because the channel also appears heavily connected to selling courses and external offers anyway. And even though monetization checkers reportedly showed the channel as demonetized at one point, the full situation behind the scenes is still hard to know for sure. But overall, this still feels like one of those channel styles that probably carries much higher platform and advertiser risk long-term, especially for creators whose business model heavily depends on YouTube ad monetization itself. Okay, enough about what's getting demonetized. What still seems safe? After looking at all these examples, one obvious question remains. What still seems relatively safe right now? Looking at the channels that seem to be surviving, a few patterns keep showing up. Original content, educational content, personal experiences, tutorials, case studies, commentary, analysis. And interestingly, AI itself doesn't seem to be the deciding factor. There are still plenty of AI-assisted channels, faceless channels, animated channels, avatar-based channels that appear to be monetized just fine. The common pattern seems to be that the content still feels original, useful, trustworthy, and creator-driven, even when AI tools are involved. So if there's one simple takeaway from everything we've covered so far, it would probably be this. Focus on creating value for an audience, not just creating content for an algorithm, because that seems to be where many of these demonetization discussions eventually lead back to. Some final thoughts. At the end of the day, I don't think this video proves that YouTube is against AI, faceless channels, or automation. There are simply too many successful channels still using those things today. Instead, the bigger pattern seems to be that YouTube is becoming increasingly aggressive toward content that feels mass-produced, low trust, low originality, manipulative, or easily replaceable. And that's probably why this topic can become so confusing, because a lot of channels don't get demonetized because of one single reason. They often get caught somewhere in the overlap between multiple reasons, which is also why two channels can look very similar on the surface, but end up with completely different outcomes. Hopefully, this video gave you a useful framework for thinking about these discussions. Not necessarily as official YouTube rules, but as patterns that seem to keep showing up across many creator experiences and case studies. Anyway, I'd love to hear what you think. Do you agree with these 17 reasons? Do you think some of them are overblown? Or have you personally experienced demonetization yourself? Let me know in the comments. The more examples creators share, the easier it becomes for everyone to learn from each other and better understand what's actually happening. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.